Hey, what's going on, everybody? There have been a lot of discussions lately on which guard is better, King or Punisher. They both have the same stats, attacks, and hit points and all that, but they have different abilities, Consume Flesh and Consume Evil, which are both in the Clan Shop 28 video. But some of the arguments for the case is that King can beat Punisher one-on-one, so King is better. To me, that doesn't make any sense, really, because, I mean, yeah, it can happen, the one-on-one fight, but just because one guard can beat another does not mean that that guard is better than the other. Also, another argument is that King can solo army and animal teams and still win with full hit points, so it's just so powerful, and, there isn't any reason to use Punisher. But just because that can happen, it doesn't mean that King is overpowered. It just capitalizes on the opponent's non-variety of their guard formation. Like if they want to choose all humanoids, then of course King is just going to run through them. Another thing is that they're blind to the rest of the team. Like for example, if you have a King up front and yet it just runs over, the entire enemy army team, the other guards don't get a chance to fight. Meanwhile, like if you put a Punisher in that team, like a counter Punisher, then it's going to produce the same result. Just it's going to use the whole team. Like it doesn't matter. Like a win is a win. So, like, if this makes any sense at all, I'm trying to say that King is not the only guard in the formation to make the fight in your favor to win. There's another thing too. I never said that King was bad. Like I said, if you could choose one, pick Punisher. But I would definitely get both. As you see here, I have two of each. They're both really, really good. So now I'm supposed to explain the different builds for King or Punisher. It's widely considered that Speed is the best build because of the attacks. It has very strong attacks with Sprint and Super Punch, and you want to use those attacks a lot. Like you want to swing more than once per turn. So with Speed, you can swing 2 to 3 times per turn with a Sprint or Super Punch or anything of the sort. You can build it bulk, but this build is either for like a lower level who can't really make use of the speed, or it's for the army teams, like if you want to put King in a tank army team. However, I think that Silent Warhulk is a far better choice of unique for the army teams. And why Silent Warhulk is better for a unique is because army teams usually win by being defensive. So if you remove Warhulk for King, it means you're taking out the ultimate defensive element for an offensive element, and it just shifts the focus of the team. So yeah, I have speed builds on my Kings and Punishers and all that. This is a speed build that's like a lower ground build. It's to combat other ground builds. It's pretty good. Okay, so now that we discussed which build is better, we can discuss the main meat. Counter. Why pick the counter empowerment over anything else? Counter is widely considered the best empowerment for Punisher or King. You can pick Leader, but that's just 10% bonus to offense. That's really not that much. I think it's better to have Counter. You can pick Battle, but I think that the Battle empowerment is not really useful on the King. Like it's better used on like a Royal Guard or something like that, or any other physical attack guard. You can use Army, but like I said with Battle, Army is best used on like a Panth Mage or a Royal Guard or something like that if you are going to run the humanoid team. Another empowerment that you can use is Sacrifice. I really like this. It's like a go-to empowerment if you don't have anything else. It's like the most flexible empowerment, I should say. But definitely Counter, because with Counter Punisher, like when you have the Counter empowerment on Punisher, it can take out the teams that King specializes in while taking care of its own. Another thing I should add is that Counter King is the reason why it can solo the army and animal teams with full hit points. Because with Counter and Consume, or I should just say Consume for example, it absorbs 50% of the damage dealt if the opponent is animal or humanoid. Counter increases the damage dealt, so it absorbs more hit points, and it just makes the fight more in King's favor. So as you see right here, I have my little team set up. So, say we have King in this team. King is capable of running through all 3 of these guards because they're humanoids. It's going to beat the Royal Guard because it soaks up the damage, and when it beats it, it gains a lot of hit points because the army team has a lot of hit points. So it's just going to knock out the Royal Guard. It's easier with Counter, so it's going to beat the Royal Guard, and the Panth Mage is going to come up. especially a speed one, it's going to swing twice, and the Panth Mage is going to swing, probably put it down to 1 because of the endurance imprint, and it's going to swing 3 times and kill the Panth Mage, and then the Warhulk comes up. And then it still has the counter empowerment, so it can deal a lot of damage to the Warhulk, but chances are that the Deathbringer is going to come up, put it down to like 1 hit point or whatever, and then Shrews is going to finish it. Same result is with Punisher in the team. With counter Punisher, it's going to counter the Royal Guard, and the majority of the regeneration of hit points comes from the mass amount of hit points that the Royal Guard will have. It'll have over 1,000 hit points, so it's going to regain like 300 some hit points. So with counter, it's going to like go attack, attack, then the worst possible scenario is that the Royal Guard has counter, so it'll go counter, and then it'll go counter, and then attack, attack, and kill it. Then the Panth Mage will come up, it's going to go attack, attack, then the Panth Mage is going to attack it, probably put it down to 1 because of the endurance, then attack, 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 and it's done. And then the same result is with the King team. What one's next? I'm reading off my little chart because this is like a complex subject. Okay. Animals. Got my little Rexa, Reindeer Rexa team. Okay, against the animal team, King is going to run over all 3 and end the fight with pretty much by himself. So that would be the main result of the fight. Punisher, on the other hand, it's going to beat the first Rexa because it has counter. So it's going to beat the first Rexa. Reindeer is going to come up. Chances are Punisher isn't going to kill the Reindeer, but it's going to put it down to critical health. And then the Deathbringer will come up, and since this is a ground team, it puts the speed at even, and Deathbringer has the entering guard bonus, and it's going to hit first. So out goes the Reindeer. And now it's 2 against 1. We all know after the Rexa kills the Deathbringer, this guard is going to win because the Rexa is now at low hit points. In those situations, Punisher is still good. Back to this. What do we have next? Oh, Deathbringer, Deathbringer, Clown. Punisher is definitely going to win against this team because it can take out 2 deaths at the same time, pretty much, and then it's going to take out the Clown. But if Clown happens to transform Punisher into a Paz, this is an Avinia, but just think it's a Paz, because it still has Consume Evil, it can beat at least 1 Deathbringer. So it can, like, I've seen it happen where it beats 2 Deathbringers, but worst possible scenario, it beats 1, then this Deathbringer is gonna kill the Punisher. But the Punisher will still have like 300 some hit points because it absorbed the hit points and it did the damage to the first Deathbringer. So chances are this is going to put it down to half, and then you have a half hit points Deathbringer versus this Deathbringer, and this one is going to kill the opponents. Then up goes Clown, and now it's 2 against 1. But that's the worst possible scenario. Clown can transform one of these 2 guards, and then Punisher's just going to wreck the whole team. Swap that with King, and it becomes a little harder. If Clown transforms the King into a Paz or whatever, or not a Paz, it's going to be like a snowman. This is a bad example. It's going to be either a Snowboy or the Mouse, but whatever. This is just a, example. If Clown transforms the King into one of these guys, then it's not going to go well. Like, it could probably beat the first Deathbringer, but it really depends. But it's not as favorable as the Punisher fight. There are people who have said, oh, my King has beaten 2 Deathbringers in a row. And yeah, that's probably true if the King is a bulk build. Because in this situation, the King kills like the first Deathbringer, then it absorbs the hit points. And then the second Deathbringer doesn't have enough strength to beat the big M defense on the King. So that's kind of like, that's the best I can explain it. There are obviously more like variables to the equation, but I've tried to make like the worst possible scenarios and the outcomes, and Punisher covers more of those situations. A bulk King can beat the DB2 Clown team, but a bulk style isn't as versatile as the speed build, and it also covers less matchups than the speed build. So that's the conclusion for what kind of build to use. Now, King is better in tournaments. Like, if I see my opponent is from a level 28 clan or higher, then I can't risk using Deathbringer because they have access to Punisher. So if that were the case, if I were to use Deathbringer and they were to use Punisher, then it's an auto loss for me. I have a message from Blessed Boy. I asked him to explain again why King is better than Punisher in the tournament. And I'm going to read this to you. King is better because of the bulk of people in tourney nowadays having clan shop level 28 and above. Playing Piercing on it accounts for Punisher / King and Colossus. And in tourney, now due to Colossus, nobody dares to play Dark Guards. So Punisher is not really good. Punisher is better for mass PvP now because the DB2 Clown matchup is still common. Also, Ghost Aegal is common as well, and if King is used, it won't be that good against Deathbringer. And if Ghost transforms into King, it will wreck your own King and probably your team as well. And Punisher won't really lose to animal and humanoid teams, so no point in King. Like I said earlier, when you have counter on Punisher, it accounts for all those teams. But in future, when people get more King or Punisher, King will be needed. And that is the conclusion from Blessed Boy. He's definitely one of the top players in the game. So, in conclusion, people make a big deal about how dominant King is versus humanoid teams and animal teams and all that. However, realize that Punisher can produce the same results while covering the prominent Dark Guards like Deathbringer. The trick to success is the proper empowerment and the proper build. I would buy both King and Punisher. If one of them can't produce a desired result, usually the other one will. So that's why I have 2 of each. I hope you found this video informative. Thank you for watching, and if you have any other videos that you guys want to see, post them in the comments below. Catch you guys later. Thank you.